You walk into the grocery store with a simple plan. Milk, bread, a few vegetables, maybe $20, $30 at most. You grab a basket. You feel in control. 40 minutes later, you're standing at the checkout line. The screen lights up. $96.47. You pause for a second. Not shocked, just confused. You didn't buy anything crazy. No luxury items. No impulse splurge you can clearly point to. So how did this happen? This isn't just about groceries. This happens to people who budget, people who earn decent money, people who track their expenses. And it's happening more often now than it did 10 or 15 years ago. Food hasn't just become more expensive. The experience of buying food has changed. And that change quietly rewired how your brain spends money. Here's the strange part. Most people don't overspend at the grocery store because they're careless. They overspend because they're doing exactly what the store expects them to do. In fact, the moment you walk through the entrance, your spending outcome is already being shaped, and it has very little to do with willpower. In this video, we're not going to talk about coupons, or budgeting apps, or discipline tips. We're going to break down why grocery stores are designed to make you spend more than you plan, using psychology, environment, and simple math. No blame, just clarity. So let's slow this down. Let's start with what actually happens in a modern grocery store. Most grocery items don't look expensive. $2.99, $3.49, $4.79. Nothing screams danger. Your brain sees units, not totals. You don't think, I'm spending $90. You think, I'm just adding one more thing. That's not accidental. Humans are very bad at accumulating small costs in real time. We feel large expenses immediately, but we underestimate repeated small ones. That's why groceries feel safe. Notice something subtle. You rarely walk out of a grocery store with an empty cart, even when you plan to. That's because stores are designed for progressive commitment. You don't commit to $100 at once. You commit to $3, then another $4, then another $5. By the time the total appears, your brain is no longer in decision mode. It's in completion mode. Groceries feel responsible. You're not buying gadgets. You're not buying luxury. You're buying food. So the internal filter that usually asks, do I really need this, becomes quieter. A snack becomes reasonable. A premium brand feels justified. An extra item feels harmless. Because food equals necessity. That mental shortcut is powerful. Let's do calm, boring math. If you overspend just $20 per grocery trip, and you shop once a week, that's about $1,000 a year. Not from extravagance, from normal trips. And that's before inflation, before price creep, before lifestyle upgrades. But you never feel the $1,000. You only feel $20. Here's another layer. As incomes rise, grocery stores subtly change their baseline. More options, more premium packaging, more better-for-you versions. You're not choosing between cheap and expensive anymore. You're choosing between acceptable and slightly better. And slightly better always costs more. Music slows you down. Layout forces exploration. Essential items are placed far apart. You walk more. You see more. You add more. None of this feels manipulative in the moment. It feels normal. That's the point. People blame themselves. I need more control. I need better habits. But grocery overspending isn't a discipline problem. It's an environment plus psychology mismatch. Your brain evolved to gather resources efficiently. The store evolved to monetize that instinct. Interestingly, people who earn more often overspend more on groceries. Not because they're careless, but because time becomes more valuable than money. Convenience wins. Premium feels justified. Small upgrades stop being questioned. The total rises quietly. Grocery spending rarely feels like a problem. That's why it's dangerous. It doesn't trigger alarms. It doesn't create guilt. It just slowly tightens your monthly margin. And margin is what creates calm. The real cost is awareness. When money leaks in places that feel harmless, you start feeling confused instead of in control. I earn enough, so why does it feel tight? This is one of the answers. They don't obsess over every item. They change how they frame the experience. They think in totals, not items. In trips, not products. They design friction before entering the store, not after. This isn't about deprivation. Food is important. Enjoyment matters. This is about understanding why something feels small, but adds up quietly. Awareness restores choice. The system works as intended. Stores aren't broken. They're optimized. which means responsibility quietly shifts to the consumer, not through willpower, through understanding. Once you see the pattern, something changes. You don't panic. You don't restrict. You simply pause more often. And that pause has value. Grocery overspending isn't about being bad with money. It's about living inside systems designed to feel harmless. When you understand that, you stop blaming yourself, and you start choosing more deliberately. If this video helped you see everyday spending more clearly, you might want to stay here. This is ClearPay Logic. We talk about money without noise. You can subscribe if you'd like. That's all for today.